the centuries holding the whole thing together. I stay behind the front line glowing blue. Quiet little unit, people barely notice move. No damage, numbers flying off my name. But one bad force field changes everything. I learned timing from panic and control. Holding fragile armies with a fragile soul. Energy counting in the corner of my eye. Trying to decide who survives the fight, and that's pressure. 1 second late and the wall breaks open. One wrong angle and the whole map folds in. Meanwhile my fingers shaking over every cast. Knowing one small mistake can erase the mass. So I drift slow behind immortal lines. Watching every choke like it's life defying. Guardian shield humming like a nervous breath. Tiny blue circles trying to delay death. And nobody hears the stress of holding everything together from the back of the army while pretending it's effortless. I was built to protect things, even when I'm falling apart. Throwing force fields through the chaos, trying to section off the dark. And every glowing barrier feels like something in my chest, separating fear from focus, trying to survive the test. Tiny blue lights in the storm.
Hey, what's going on, Nightbane God? You like that one? Scanning my base, I'm in trouble. Yeah, sometimes, sometimes you don't see them coming and you didn't scout it in early enough. And everything was going well, and all of a sudden, bam, it all just goes downhill. I saw Pig discuss the new patch too. I have no idea what is in the patch. But yeah, I'll keep the music coming. I just gotta work harder on the lyrics. It's not easy to put like a storyline into a StarCraft song, but gotta just keep working on them. So Pig was discussing it. Yeah, I think I saw a video, but I didn't want to see it yet. I wanted to, get a first reaction to these. Is this an update patch, or is this like it's a PTR patch, right? So it's not done yet. It's not live. It's just a potential, right? The problem with these PTR patches, though, is that people don't jump into the PTR patches. Like, it's only few people play it. It's usually not enough to really let them know that things are going on or things are working or not. So I don't know if they're learning their lesson or not, but it seems like they're not learning their lesson. The last time they did a patch, PTR patch, nobody was playing it. so they shoved it down the ladder throat. They said, shit, not enough people are playing it. We don't even know. We need more people to try it out. We're just going to shove it in the ladder. And they just shoved it down the ladder throat. I said, take it. But PTR patches, the worst thing about it is that people don't tell you how to get in there. Most people that I talk to usually don't even know how to get into the PTR patch. So I mean, the first thing they should do is explain how to get into the PTR patch in an easier way than just a patch note. Because yeah, it's not a simple thing to understand. Try to get it too. Let's see. So we'll look at these. But you know what I mean? I don't know. We'll see how it goes. You would prefer this as a live patch? I mean, I just don't understand what the PTR patch is for these days when they don't teach the masses how to get in it. And when there's not enough people to test it, how are they gonna update it to see if everything's good or not? It's just they need more testers. But how do you get more testers in there when they don't know how to get in there? Well, they made PTR so that they could have people test it, so that they can look at it and go, okay, this is good, this is not good. But the problem is they don't teach people how to get in there. It's not the simplest thing to do to get in there. If you don't know, it's gonna happen again. It happens over and over again. There's not gonna be enough people for them to even see that it works or doesn't work, and they're gonna just throw it in there. Let's see, just go. Not enough people. Just throw it in there. So we'll see what happens. I know. And even when you play PTR, you're playing against random people. You could be playing versus a GM player, a Masters player. You could be bronze, silver, gold, playing against these try sweaty hard standard meta players that don't even like that you're playing the game even the way you want to. If people get upset, like, you don't even have to do anything with the patch notes. You just want to play there. They get mad at you when you beat them just because you didn't use a test patch. You didn't do anything that was like PTR patch notes kind of worthy. It's weird. Crybabies in there. But the latter, it's so weird that you get these off matches. It's not going to balance you at all. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's definitely not. The PTR part is not really the most enjoyable part of the experience of testing things. But there is a new patch, yeah. We'll look at it and see what they want to change. Yeah, me too, Nightbane. I play this the way I play, but people get mad at you because they're like, well, you're not doing the PTR patch right. You have to test things that are part of the test. And it's like, well, how about I just play normal, and then if I do get there, I'll get there. Nope. They get upset. It's weird. Gatekeepers. What can I say? Let's check it out. Let's see. Salt mine files. Many. We're gonna grow the files. As for YouTube, if I can get 10 comments on my recent video, I'll play live streams, If I don't get 10 comments, then I will be doing members only live streams, not public live streams. And then when the 10 comments kick in, then the next day I'll do live streams. So if you guys like live stream ladder, definitely, throw some comments on my videos. Not on my stream. No, not on my live stream, but on my videos themselves. For members, you guys are good no matter what. I appreciate the love and support. But I am probably gonna have to just members only my live streams. Just not enough comments, so we'll see. Speaking hacker, you by me about I used to get called hacker before just because I destroyed medevac drops just launched near my base. Oh yeah, I know. They don't even. they'll call you out as a hacker and then they won't really debate you. You know, there's so many times they call me a hacker. I'm like, let's watch the replay together, because I was gonna show them my stream, right? That I'm streaming, but they don't even want to do that part. They just want any excuse to just not make it their fault. It seems to be a habit. So they'll call you one, but you still won't be able to like have them justify it. The StarCraft 2 meta, please. Okay. Let's see here. As the Zergbane, I just flood Overlord Vision, and some proxy Terrans get real salty. Get 'em. Alright, so let me get some StarCraft music background while I read this stuff. Okay. So we can lower this a little bit. Things out. Oh well, we'll do like this. Fine. It's 8 workers. The 8 workers is Pig's idea. I mean, I don't mind it. You know, 8 workers back. We used to have like 8 workers. Like, less workers will give creative players more time to do stuff. That's for sure. It'll give strategy players more time to do what they need to do within the structure time limit before the other player just macros their way, you know, into mid game, late game. So I don't mind lower worker counts. I think it slows the game down enough to not have just, you know, repetitive, safe macro meta builds. We try to make this PTR focus on extending the early and mid-game experience, allowing players to remain competitive on 1 to 3 base for longer periods. We've introduced changes to make a non-warped gateway play or a more viable path. They're talking about the Sewer Mermaid here, while also increasing overall strategic diversity across all 3 races. There's only one man that does the no warp gate play, and that's the Sewer Mermaid. We don't do warp gates. It doesn't make sense anywhere else though. Anything else doesn't make sense. No warp gate plays. People don't know what no warp gate plays are. They just know that warp gate kicks in right when you get the Cybe out. Once the Cybe is done, warp gate upgrade. So most people don't even understand what non-warp gate play would be. You know? They just can't even conceive that. Like, huh? What do you mean? We got warp gate. You know, but there is a period of time in the beginning that gateways would be ideal before the warp gate. So that's interesting. They're saying they want the gateway play to make sense. So if a gateway play makes sense, that means that the game definitely has to slow down a little bit. In addition, a range of quality of life improvements have been implemented to enhance the overall player experience. What's that? Quality of life improvements? What kind of wording is this? I guess we're gonna find out what the quality of life improvements is. Like, don't die quick for some reason. Okay. I got bit and mosquitoes. Put this person's deserved name. What? Miss Aries? Talking about Willis. We got Team Green in the house. Cheers, Team Green. Let me get my water. Okay, this is going to the economy. Starting workers reduced from 12 to 8. So that's a big one. That is a huge huge move. What starting workers reduced from 12 to 8, it's not the biggest change, but it's a disruption. It's a disruption in the times, in the timing of builds, the timing of everything that's usually common right now, which is good, which is what we need, because too many people already know all the answers that are like the safe play, and they'll just do them over and over again. They'll regurgitate them and they'll memorize them. It just becomes a routine. And this will definitely mess a lot of the routine timings of things up a bit. So that would be good. I think the 12 to 8 workers would be interesting. Yeah, I also think 4-player maps would be more interesting as well. But, 12 to 8, I think the game should get slower. I think it'll be better for lower level players that the game is slower. Lower level players with less mechanics, with less worker intro, is going to slow the game down where it gives you a chance. The 12 worker, it sped up the game so fast that the fast hand players took advantage of that way better, and they leave very little room for the creative players with no mechanics. They leave them in the dust with just macro and standard builds, So that's definitely good. I would say I hope that they change the 12 to 8, because I think the 8 used to be good as well in regards to just more time. Default large mineral patch resources counts reduced from 18,000 to 1800 to 16. What? Default. So there's 4 mineral patches. So there's 4 mineral patches in the 8 mineral patch standard base. They're saying that the thicker ones that are the closest, that they should be reduced to 200 each less. And I think that they're tying this to the fact that there's only 8 workers in the beginning of the game. Because there's 8 workers in the beginning of the game, it does slow down the game to where it takes longer to chew out. And so what they want to do here in the 18 to 16 mineral side, what they want to do is they want the game to still feel pressure to move. They want, to get the next base. Because on average, the first 4 mineral patches, the lower resource mineral patches, you mine those out, around 8 minutes. And then you mine out the larger mineral patch around 15-16 minutes. Really depends on if there was a lot of disruption in the game, the intro or stuff. But about 15-16 minutes, the main gets mined out completely. The gas at 16-ish. The last 4 mineral patches about 15. Really depends. especially if you're muling and you're tearing, then it's way earlier. So what they're doing right there is they're like, well, we don't want the main base to have mining for way too long because, you know, we want them to keep moving. And so they're probably doing that where like they're balancing that there's 8 first. That's going to chew up less minerals. And then that way we don't disrupt too much of that. We still have minerals in our base that's 20 minutes in the game. You know, they want to keep the minerals gone at the main base by around 16, 17 minutes. That's what they want, which, you know, nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. Total default minerals per base increased from 10,800 to 11,000. Total default mineral per base. Right. If you do the numbers, right? If you do the deductions of everything, it's 1080 to 10800 to 11, whatever. The math is gonna math. They're mapping it. The only thing you gotta know is that the 8 drone count. They're trying to balance it so that the main gets mined out at a reasonable time. So whatever time that is going to be normally around the time that it usually is right now, give or take. Default Vespian gas geysers resource count increased from 2,250 to 2,500. Yeah, that'll make the gas geysers mine out at around maybe 18 minutes longer. You know, about 18 minutes. That's not bad. Having gas that, you know, a longer period of time where you have gas. That's going to be interesting. I don't know where that one's going. That part I'm not sure where it's going. Why they want to extend the life of the gas. I'm assuming the only thing that makes sense to me is that because there's 8 workers instead of 16 workers, for whatever reason, the minerals are still going to mine out a little bit later, and they don't want the gas to mine out quicker than the minerals. I'm assuming, because outside of that, I don't see too much of a difference. You know, just the balancing of the mineral to gas timeouts is the only thing I could think of. But nothing drastic. Nothing drastic in that change anyways. Most games last about on average 8 minutes to 17 minutes, 16 minutes or something like that. So you're talking about the gas is gonna mine out. You're gonna win or die in the game faster than the main gas is gonna mine out on average. It's a huge average. Not too many people get into like 20-30 minute games, or not too many games you're at 10-20. But you know, with the 8 mineral 8 worker intro, games will go a little longer. Let's see. I think regular gas should mine less as digital. The regular gas, I actually don't have any opinion on that in general, whether it be less or more. Not on the main base, because on average you should be getting your second and your third, you know, and that usually should, you know, help out. If they're giving more gas, it's maybe to kind of help with the tech, you know, the upgrades. They want the upgrades to be, you know, used, and it doesn't suck up you don't feel like you're sucked up on all your resources, because, you know, gas is, you know, now it's a reduction of gas. You're like, I'm taking longer time to make expos. I'm gonna need that gas longer. So, you know, I think that's what they're trying to help is kind of like the upgrades, make sure it's not too bad. I don't really upgrade too much where it affects me too much. But I don't really have an opinion on that one, whether it be reduced or more. You know, I would say the minerals, reducing the minerals, like why? But they are doing an 8 worker to 12 worker, so I can see that they're probably trying to balance things. But the gas part, I don't think it's gonna really change too much outside of it's gonna help the lower level players have a little more gas for something, you know. So I think it'll be helpful for the lower level players. Let's see. Total default gas per base increased. Okay. Yeah, because of the change. Rich Vespian gas geyser harvest return value decreased from 8 to 6. So the rich Vespian gas is not gonna be as rich. I really don't take advantage of the rich Vespian gas builds too much. But at least it's gonna help balance. It's gonna help balance the game a little bit in regards to like gas plays. But I'm also thinking, you know, the map makers. The map makers are gonna usually have one gas, right? Or sometimes they have two. If they make two, at least this is gonna help those gas guys are not being OP. Or it's gonna help them be able to play some different places a little bit more comfortable in their map makers, you know, strategy. Map makers will have a little bit more with this one. You know, they'll be able to play with the balance of how, you know, how many can I put in here? How many gases can I put here that are rich gas? Now they can play with it a little bit more, I would think, without people going, it's broken, too much gas, and you know. But I do think that the rich Vespian gas should always be somewhat more susceptible to an attack than any other base outside, because, you know, it should be a risk. It shouldn't be like, oh, Zerg has it in the hidden back and you can't kill it, so they get it off, you know, freely. Or Terran's got tanks all around theirs and you can't, you know, it's not as exposed and you would have to lose so much to get it. So yeah, that's map making though. They'll have their fun with it. Mostly one rich gas being exposed, yeah. Well, with this from 8 to 6, now they're gonna probably do two rich Vespian. You get me? And they used to do one a lot because it's just a lot, but now that they're 6, they're like, well, maybe would it be bad to have two rich which is still, now it's gonna be more. Now it's gonna, so we'll see if they stay with their one gas or if they start adding two rich Vespian gas. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to experiment with a 2 Vespian gas kind of map, being that, you know, the 8 to 6. We'll see. Time will tell. Zerg hatchery, lair, and hive. Okay, supplies provided reduced from 6 to 4. So usually whenever you make a command center or a nexus, for those who don't know, a hatchery, you get a little bit of supply for it. You know, like when you get a command center, it's like getting 2 supply depots for free in a way by getting a command center. It's like 2 and a little bit more than 2, but technically just round it down to 2 supply depots when you get a command center. So when you get 2 command centers, it's like getting 4 supply depots. So you're like, well, why don't I just get command centers instead of supply depots? If I know them, they make us, you know, it's true. But, you know, that's a strategy. That's up to you if you want to do that or not. you know, within your build. So what they're saying is the supplies provided reduced, right? From 6 to 4, they gain. So they're reducing the benefit of getting more supply from it. I mean, it helps reduce a little, not much though, but it does help. You know, you got 3 bases, because Zergs have a lot of hatcheries, and they normally have hatcheries in general for larvae, so they're gonna get it anyways. So because they don't have buildings, and those are the buildings, but if they're also the supply, they're trying to balance the Zerg a little bit more on the supply, so they don't get extra drones, or they have to pay for that in some way from the back end, is what I'm thinking they're doing. Which is, I think, is a good thing to slow the Zerg down a little bit. It's not gonna help tremendously, but it's, you know, it's a couple hundred here, you know, a couple hundred here and there, but not much, because, you know, at some point it don't matter. At some point they got so much minerals, and you better know what you're doing against them. Other than that, you know, it's more for a pro balance than anything else. Let's see, could float Simon mineral maps would be cool. Could float them like Overlord, Supply, and Dead Space. I mean, like island maps. They're already hurting without queens in patch games I saw today. Oh shit, what? I haven't seen anything. I don't know anything about no queens. Did they kill the queens out? Are queens gone? Let me see. Creep, spread, reseed rate. Okay, so pretty much the going and coming of the creep spread. Slow from 45 to 55. Okay, so when the hatchery dies, the creep will reduce, or when the creep tumor dies, the creep will reduce at a 55-second rate. So they're making the creep spread faster, is what's going on. I think is that they're making, whenever you make a hatchery, you can get creep faster. It's gonna grow to the max quicker, you know, from 45.45 seconds to 0.55 seconds. Not the biggest change, but it's also gonna reduce it also, and that part's a little interesting, because I would say in more mid-game plays, when Terrans are trying to kill the creep off, you know, they're trying to kill or even Protoss, they're trying to kill the creep off the Zerg, and that creep stays up for so long that it allows the queens to come back and start creating more creep tumors before you could even slow it down. You know, you're like, damn, I can't even slow it down. By the time I try to get through this wave, the queens are already over there. You know, it doesn't hurt them as much. So my investment of scanning and things like that are not as beneficial with this creep so slow. And it's not the biggest change. It doesn't, you know, 44 to 55. But then I'm seeing that as where it would matter the most, would be killing off creep tumors to slow the creep down, to, you know, recede it. And for Zergs, in benefit, it's faster to grow, you know, so it's beneficial for the Zergs if they're more of a aggressive and they have control over the creep. But then it's also good for those who are slowing it down, you know, and if the queens aren't there to get there in time, it's gonna slow that down. So it's a tug of war that doesn't, it's not the biggest change from the tug of war, as long as both players are still on top of their creep game on both sides of the fence. Because you're gonna be able to pump it out just as fast. The only thing is that if you slow the Zerg down enough, that creep will eventually die off quicker, which the queens are gonna have to work harder, you know. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know how that's gonna go. It's a couple. It's not even a, you know, it's not too much of a difference, but we'll see. It depends in the game. You'll see it. You'll notice in the game. I can't notice it Just looking at the that 0.05 seconds. Damage against biological goals. Spore crawlers. Damage against biological increased from 20 plus 10 biological to 20 plus 15 biological. What? They're saying damage against biological. Okay, Marines and Marauders increase from 20 plus 10 biological to 20 plus. Okay, so instead of okay, so the Spines had an extra plus 10 to the Marines because they were biological. Now they're gonna be an extra 5, so that means that they're gonna hit the Marines and the Marauders just a little bit more. So it's gonna help the Spines a little bit versus the Marine play. Imagine spawning creep tumors as custom rolls instead of energy. Oh shit. I didn't think about that. That's just funny. Shadow. 15 minerals each. Soup. What up, Earthwalker 1? How you doing? What up, Nostronome? Let's see. Let's see. Creep tumors. So the creep tumors are gonna help it's gonna help the Zergs a little bit more with the Spines to defend against the bio, because the bio comes in just medevacs and everything. Those spine crawlers ain't gonna last very much, so they're trying to give them a little bit of something to help them. And this might be just because of the 8 to 12 workers. There's gonna be more rushes. They know that there might be more 4 racks rushes, and they're like, shit, because we're lowering the worker count, there's gonna be a little bit more foolery out there. And if there's more foolery, we need something to defend. So they're probably like, here, let me help you with the spine crawlers being a little stronger, just in case there's some cheese. Every larva, 5 minerals. Imagine. No. Okay, spore crawlers. Damage against biological increase from 10. Okay, so so the spore crawlers too, they're gonna be a little stronger to biological. So that's gonna be for mutas and creep corruptors, basically Zerg. Basically Zerg. Spores are already an ass whooping to Zergs, to mutas. Spores are strong, so they're gonna be a little stronger. Not sure where that's going. Not really sure where that's going, but it's going. It's it's a Zerg versus Zerg thing. Carapace upgrade. Carapace? What is Carapace again? I forgot the level 1 cost decreased. Carapace, what is that? Was it shield or something? I forget. Not a Zerg main at all. Yeah, okay, it is. Okay, ground upgrade. Yeah, the armor. I was like, that's the only thing that would make sense to even put here. Okay, and then so they're making it cheaper for the upgrades. So they're I mean, they're already gonna get upgrades. And the supply for the hatcheries, it's some weird numbers game right here. You have to make more overlords, just a couple more overlords for hatcheries, because it's 4 to 6 reduced in supply, right? So that means more overlords you have to make. But those overlords are going to be free practically in some degree with the with the benefit here. Yeah, that's some extra money for having to make more overlords because we gave you a reduction in the supply cap. Uh, you know what I mean? So they're giving it to they're taking from Joe to give to Paul, something like that. That's the only thing I see right here. I mean, minus the gas. Yeah, it's not that hard to. Well, it's not that damaging for Zerg. Zerg gets bases pretty quick, so it's not that damaging. Plus, they don't want gas so early in the first place. They usually macro minerals, get queens, slings, and then get the gases later, and then they'll explode. But they really don't need as much gas as Protoss or Terran. Infestors. Microbial Shroud range increased from 9 to 12. Oh, shoot. Damn. The Shroud. They're making it longer range. Well, let's see what happens. It's interesting. Microbial Shroud can now be cast without requiring an upgrade from the infestation pit. Oh, okay, yeah. There was a little upgrade, little cloud upgrade. So now it's just given. So they want. Okay, so this is. They want infestors to be more used in the earlier game, which I've been using infestors now recently. I've been using infestors and some vipers. Because, trying to learn how to use them. I've used the other units. Now I'm trying to work on infestors. So this is going to kind of help the infestor be more of a supporting unit in the game. But earlier, it's going to help more like cheesier plays in some way or more aggressive plays because you won't lose the infestor as quick. Or I guess it's a way to like not lose the infestor as quick. Earlier today, we were playing Wings of Liberty. I was losing my infestors left and right because they just were always behind the army. I was like, damn, I can't get my cast out. Because they're like, where are they? Stuck in the back behind like a couple hydras and stuff. And you're like, I can't cast them. And then when you're like, what happened to them? And it's like, game plan was, disrupted. So the 12 is going to help the lower level players get a little bit more range, not mess up the casting. It'll, so that'll be interesting. Yeah, and the computer, it has like, priority units that they're gonna snipe in the game. And boy, my infestors got sniped. Like, damn, you guys going for them specifically. I was like, savage. Okay. Neuroparasite on builder SCVs will only expire at structure completion. Oh, what the hell? Are you serious? Are they saying what they're saying? You're only gonna need one SCV? Oh damn, that's some cheesy shit right there. If that's what I'm thinking. Well, I think they're saying that once you neuro one SCV to build a command center, your command center as a Zerg, it's not going to expire until the completion of the SCV, because usually you need like six infestors to, you got to do this and parasite that one. Oh, now you got to, and now he knows you're there. It was kind of ridiculous to do it. But I felt like whenever you do it, you get to the point where the way you have to do it, you practically could already win the game, because that's how hard this thing is to get without it being organic. You get me? It's hard to have an organic build order that has to do with taking somebody's command center, taking someone's SCV and building a command center of your own as Zerg and playing it out within a more organic feel. Because outside of that, you have to be already at troll mode of resources and map control to do it at this point, because you need 6 infestors. You know, by the time you do that, then you still need to build the bases, right? Or the whatever you're gonna do, BCs or whatnot. That's gonna take a while. You could have already won the game. You know, it's not organic the way it is at the moment. But with this, they're saying that you can go and steal an SCV, quickly hide it, make the command center. It won't, and you just need 1 infestor. That's huge for cheese. That's huge for cheese, and I like it. No, it says completion. Shadow. It says completion. Structure completion. So the tank, it's gonna do the same thing, but it's gonna, you know, it's not gonna. You're gonna have a cooldown when you do the tank, but you're not gonna have the cooldown practically when you're building something. But it's not gonna do anything different with the tank. It's still gonna have the expiration date normal. Oh, you're talking about imagine with Zergs with tanks? Oh yeah, imagine Nidus Worm with Thors. You do a Nidus Worm and then Thors pop out. Thors here. Like holy what? Or a bunch of Widow Mines. Sky's the limit. But that's pretty cool. I like that part. I like the fact that we can get a little jazzier. Get that command center. It won't be as they're still gonna see it unless you finish it. Well, I don't know. They're still gonna see it, because at the end when it's done, it's gonna cool down. It's gonna disrupt, and the SCV is gonna be right there. So they're gonna see that you made it eventually. They're not gonna see it when it's being built, but once it's done, it's gonna be on the minimap. It's gonna show. Sadly, there's no way to make it where it doesn't. The only thing that you could do technically, if he doesn't see, is you lift the command center up before the SCV dies. If you lift the command center up before the SCV dies, when the SCV dies, it's not going to show up on the minimap as a building that's right there. That's the only thing I could, picture in my head that would keep them from knowing if they didn't catch it right off the bat when, for that millisecond. So let's see. Now has an auto attack weapon. So it's got balloons. I wonder how strong those balloons are. And the water balloons are so that the infestors don't just run into their death. They're making it. This is definitely a direction for the lower level players. The beginners or even the mid, that you don't lose if you don't use hotkeys very much. Even when you use hotkeys, it's not that easy to, you still have to kind of concentrate your mind from having them not, go straight to the army and die. It definitely helps the lower level players get a little more interested in the infestor, because it's a technical unit, but then not lose them right away. They're expensive, and you just don't want to lose them right off the bat, because you don't know how to use them, or you forget the hotkey or whatnot. So that's really cool. I do see that more of a lower level player support. Let's see. Vipers abduct now considers what? Seed shanks evaluate. That's the pros. That's the pros right there. This one right here is for the pros. So they just recently changed the last patch that we had. They made Vipers not able to pull the tanks, which I thought was still a good thing anyways, in some way, because Vipers just be taking all the tanks, and now what? I got nothing. What they should be doing is they should allow the tanks to be pulled, but not the Thors. The Thors shouldn't be pulled. That's what they should switch it. Should be a switch from tanks to Thors. That would make sense. Or BCs. I don't know. I would say or BCs. BCs already have a hard time with infestors. Overlords. Speed without what? Pneumatized carapace decreased from 0.9 to 0.7. So the overlords without the upgraded speed, they're saying they're gonna make it even a little bit slower than where it is now, which kind of interesting. I think it's because the overlords are just they're too damn nosy. They're able to get in, get out, see this, get out. Especially Cero in the higher levels. Cero goes in, sees, and doesn't get punished for the overlords seeing so much. Just they get out. Pew. So what they're doing right there is more of a, hey, if you want to go in and get something to see, you might lose the overlord this time. It might be because you're almost there. There's so many times where it's like, oh, I'm almost there, and they know how far more or less they should go before they can get out, to the pillar or whatever. They'll be like, almost to the pillar, I can't get them. It's like they're, but they saw what they saw. So this is gonna be a little interesting, Can now issue, let's see, overlords can now issue load nearby units commands. They weren't able to do that. Like a medevac, like a medevac has a load. Overlords never had a load. You always had to just. That's interesting. I never use overlords as much as I, when it comes to like picking them up. So, like, at least then now you just push a button, they'll get sucked up. That's a big fast load. That's gonna help the lower level players get a little crafty in their overlord drops. That'll help definitely the lower level players, mid level players get a little, little overlord cheesy. Yeah, new update. But this isn't. It's an update potential. This is a PTR patch, and what a PTR patch is pretty much is they're gonna put it in a little area where people could test it. They're gonna get some, opinions on what's happening, with these changes in the PTR patch, which is live right now. I'm assuming it's live right now, and I'll show you guys how to get in there. If you guys don't know, before while we're here, talking about this particular part, you get into this area right here. You click right here, and then from here you go up here where it says in development public test realm. You click on that, and then it has you update the patch for the PTR. So when you get inside, you're gonna be in a different area. You're not gonna be in your normal place. It's gonna be a different location with different players, whoever's in there. And when you ladder up, you're gonna ladder versus different rankings, but you're gonna be able to test these things out. And so that's how you do it. You do it right here. Click on that, public testing, hit play, get the update, and then bada bing. What? Yeah, it'll be automatic digital. So that means that you just hit how the medevac, the command center. Let's just say the command center. When the command center, you want to pick up all your units, you hit that button, the load button, and it just, it takes those SCVs inside the command center. And nasties. So that's pretty much the same thing. It's just gonna. So the overlords, you'll have the overlords right there. Instead of grabbing them and kind of like popping them in each overlord, you'll be able to hotkey all of them and double select them, and then just hit that button, and they're Just get all sucked up. You know, and that's why I say it's helpful for the lower level players to, you know, overlord drop, because it's complicated sometimes right now with that. You gotta pick them up. Oh, it's got the wrong ones. Let's get, gotta grab these two in here, and then it's so just tangled. Just feels like a tangle, and so yeah, that's gonna be interesting. That'd be cool. Let's see. We got overseers. Changelings automatically inherit the current order queue of the casting overseer. Changing deaths are contagious to other nearby changes. Oh, that's pretty cool right there in some degree, because you know, there's been some players I've faced that were like sniping me, and there's this, like, you know, they get the map, and then they're able to like pop so many changelings out over and over again, and they're just so many, like they can get a lot. At some point it becomes more of a troll thing to do than to just, you know, finish the game. And it was kind of ridiculous, you know, to where it's like, is this really allowed? This is, you know, this many. It doesn't seem like, you know, it doesn't seem right. So now, if one dies and they're all near each other, kind of like all, you know, I don't know what radius, but the others are gonna die too near them. So I'm assuming if you kill one of them, the one near them are gonna die too. Because sometimes, you know, you get like 7 of them after you, and you're just over there just trying to like attack them. You know, like, oh, 1, 2, 3, come on, shoot. And then they're in your army. You're like, oh shoot. So one of them you're gonna be able to like kill like 4 of them when they're all near each other. You kill one, they're all gonna die, which it'll stop that nonsense. You know, I like when it's creative, but when it's used for just a weird annoyance that just doesn't make sense, it just means it seems more trolly. It just doesn't seem creative, you know. Has too much intel, too much, you know, disruption. So that's gonna be interesting. Okay. But, you know, what I don't understand is right here, Changeling automatically inherits the current order queue of the casting overseer. I don't know what this means, you know. The current order queue of the casting overseer. I don't know what this current order queue means. Like, inherits. What, they make only one at a time? What up, Stone Tone? How you doing? Speaking of stoned, cheers, cheers. I don't know. We're looking at that. We're getting to Terran right now. But that part we'll see. I don't know what that means. Someone wants to elaborate. Let's see. Mutalisk. Mutas. Mutalisk glaives now prioritize targets. What? Mutalisk glaives now prioritizes targets? What does that mean? Yeah, I know. I don't understand what that means. Glaives. Mutalisk glaives now prioritize targets. Adept glaives? Let's see, so Nightbane God says, I think it means that if you have the Overseer queued to go through opponent's base, then spawn Changeling, the Changeling doesn't just sit there, it will also simply be queued to follow the same path as the Ovi. Well, that's weird. The same path as the Overlord? Like a follow the leader? It must be a typo, or we'll see how that goes. So it's not too big of a change. I think the bottom one was more of a bigger change than anything out of the two. It says you queue commands, fly into the enemy main, move the natural patrol near their base, then you cast the spawning changeling. Yuku commands fly into the enemy's main, move to the neural patrol near the third base, then you cast spawn changeling. Before this patch, the changeling would usually just stand there unless you... Oh, you're talking about like when they go over there and they just start pooping? So you can give it you can pre-command it. You can give it a direction before they can before they even hatch. I see. Or they'll go follow the Overlord. Is that what they'll do? They'll follow the Overlord until you decide to give it a different command, so that they actually move. Yeah. Interesting. I wonder, I guess that's more of a tactical maneuver to have them already going towards somewhere when you poop it. Maybe like to the choke. You know, like you're over there and your rally would be to the choke, and then you go over to their base and start pooping random spots, and they're just already migrating to the choke. Maybe something like that. That's what I'm thinking. Makes sense to me. I guess you can queue the change and do things. It's actually a pretty good quality of life buff. You can spam changelings while multitasking. Scouting paths become automatic, and pros won't need extra APM to manually move each changeling after spawning. That's true. That's true. You gotta actually poop it and then move it. That's an extra maneuver. Or if you're pooping multiple, you gotta, which means that in the quality of life of just a time amount, because what happens is changelings, of course, I could see that it becomes more of a better scout if you already have the changeling gets pooped and already going to the other side. You can like maybe get a couple more inches to see if there's a tech. You get me? It's like, oh shoot, the Overlord gets chased. The Overseer is almost dead. Poops it out, and it's already going the direction you wish to go. And you're like, okay, I did see it. It is Twilight, or it is Robo, or you know what I mean. So I can see that being a scoutable method. Oh yeah, don't worry about it, Stone Tone. Don't even worry about it. You're good. You're good to go. I'm chatting on both sides. I'm chatting on Twitch and on YouTube. So probably means is changelings will not get declaration, which is the only advantage I see. Hey, Cine Cutie. Blow tubes. So now we're going to the Terran. Let's see. Terran and Protoss are my two favorites, of course. So let's see. The command center supplies provided reduced from 15 to 13. So they're doing it maybe across the board because of the worker count change potential. 15 to 13. It's the same thing. Command centers not going to be as much supply, which means you need more supply depots. But not too big of a change. We got mules. Worst case. Ghost is a sensitive topic. It's always been a sensitive topic, especially versus Zerg. Supply increased from 2 to 3. Health reduced from 125 to 100. You see, they're like, how do we kill these bastards faster? Okay, how do we hurt them too while they have them for having them? We'll give them more. We'll increase their supply. How dare they make more than one ghost? Attack damage changed from 10 to 10 versus light to 20. So they're stronger. A little bit stronger. That's their base attack. They got a little bit longer range, which, it's going to help because, Lings are going to chase them down. And then I'm assuming the health the reduced health has to do with the Bailings. I'm assuming, because it takes a lot of Bailings to kill all the the ghosts. So that's gonna help the Bailings get a little bit, a little bit more dangerous against ghosts. Attack damage change. Let's see, attack range. Yep, steady targeting. Damage increased from 130 to plus 40 versus psionic to 170. Others are adding, so all across the board, or they're just adding 10. Energy cost increase from 50 to 75. Damn, they're making them more expensive. No longer cancels upon taking damage. Well, that's good. At least they screwed them in all kinds of ways. In every which way they screwed them. But they said, well, at least when you lock something down, you're not going to have to worry about it, like, not getting locked. Not getting... because usually if you get hit, if you're locking them down and you get hit, it takes off the lockdown, which, then it just becomes, just regular ghosts with no lockdown, but then benefit, which was terrible. But all this other stuff makes it, just a bad unit, or not as good unit. The only thing is, like, they're just giving the ghosts something that they already had before that they took away from. But then now they're saying, now we're gonna take more away from you, but we're gonna give you what we took away from you. We're gonna give you one thing that we took away from you, but we're gonna take away other things, like a panda bear. You give panda bear, some toy, and they'll give you their kid. It's like, so we'll see what happens. I'm not, there's definitely a pro conversation for this part versus with Zergs and Terrans, and I'm usually out of it. I'm a Protoss player, so this is one of those things that I just know that there's a back and forth. There's always been a back and forth argument when it comes to the ghosts being strong, or vice versa. So I don't know, we'll see, but they're definitely nerfing the ghost again. This is like the third patch that I've seen ghosts being like one of the top discussions to work on. It would be cool if they added unit veterancy. Oh yeah. You mean like the rankings, and then have them have benefits to those rankings? That would be cool. They should just bring back wing delivery. Snipe Ghost still. Snipe cancels is it's worse. Yeah, so they're fixing that. So they're gonna weaken it a little bit more, and that's gonna be a lot of times it's gonna be Terran versus Zerg when it comes to Ghost, Bailings, and Lings. When it comes to their health. So the Zergs are getting a little victory there, but there's definitely a little bit of like, okay, well, at least we're getting back something that we actually really liked, which is keep our lock on, even after. If we're gonna die, we're gonna die, but at least we're gonna lock on. Because it sucks to be able to lock on, then it gets canceled, and then you still die. You're like, well, what the hell? These things are expensive. So hopefully they didn't say anything about the gas reduction. It would be nice if the gas was reduced a little bit for the Ghost. You know? Or the nuke. Maybe the nuke could be reduced a little bit. Bastards. Yeah, or the cloak should reduce or have more energy on the cloak. Something, you know, they gotta give us something more than just what we already had that they took away. More mana from the start, or you know. Oh shoot, Mink Shaw, how you doing? Chilling? We chilling. Shoot, we're about to take a quick. Let's see here. Yeah, there's gonna be a new update. This is the PTR. So it's just a patch at the moment. They're gonna be doing testing on all these things, and then from there they're gonna see what they're gonna actually put into the new patch. So that means that there's a patch coming. When they do this, that means that there's a patch coming, and it has to do with something in this soup. Some of this soup is gonna be taken out, and a lot of this soup is going to be put in, and it seems like they're moving from what I'm looking at right now with the worker count change. They're definitely trying to shake things up. They're trying to shake things up enough to like get away from the staleness of StarCraft, because a lot of players are just, they play it safe. And it stales the game. It just the games, the tournaments are all the same. You know, if we don't change anything at the moment, all the future tournaments or pro games are gonna look the same. They're still gonna look the same, and that's not good for viewers, because eventually viewers are gonna stop watching something that they've seen over and over again, even if it's the same players. It's like, so they gotta do something about it. So this is definitely something to shake things up, so that players are gonna do something different. Something's gonna happen differently, and it'll leave some interesting things to be figured out, which is very helpful. Because if the game doesn't change, nothing's gonna change. Because I guarantee you, players will not change. You have to force the players to change, so that they, you know, by changing the game, there's no other way. They will play safe. They will get their MMR any way they can, and that's it. There's, you know, they don't care about playing interesting. They care about their MMR. That's it. Just the majority just care about getting to a certain ranking, and that's their goal. And that goal makes them bland in the game, and you can't take it away from them. You can't take that. You can't go and make them get creative. You can make a unit look interesting, but if it's not part of a standard meta, it ain't gonna be used. And so you have to change it, or else nothing's gonna be changed. And that just happens to be. You're not gonna change the player base. You have to force them to change. And so they're making this change. It seems like they're making it big enough change to shake things up, which is pretty cool. So hopefully a lot of this stuff stays, because it's different. Even if it's not too different, it messes the meta up a bit, you know. Turning on a cloak is rough. 25 energy. I know. 25, and then you have to. Give us some more mana. I guess yeah, it becomes stagnant. It does, especially if you go up the ranks. If you're at like high diamond masters and above, you start seeing the trend over and over again. As you get higher, where you're playing the same players over and over again, because it's like once you get to high masters, low GM, you're gonna have more times. You're gonna have like a little batch of players that you're gonna face more often, and they're gonna play the same over and over again. So you're in this like loop, this twilight zone of wanting to play StarCraft at a higher level, but you wish that the game was more complicated at a higher level, but it's not. Turns out that it's the same painting over and over again, and you're going nuts because the game doesn't allow you to break the portrait. Let's see. That's why Let's Gas would change it. Oh, for the ghost. Yeah, exactly. Let's Gas. At that rank, it's all about memorizing build orders and just keep doing the same thing over. It really is. It really is, and you can't stop them from doing it. You can't tell them, "Hey, we're gonna give this cool toy right here that you can kind of. If it's not part of the meta, we ain't gonna use it. We want our MMR, and there's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't nothing wrong with that. You know, there's speedrunners in every game. Every game has speedrunners. I call it the way it is. Those players are speedrunners. They're not playing the game the way a regular player would play a game. They're playing the game like a speedrunner would play a game. And they have their niche. That's what they do. And so a lot of times people don't realize that they're speedrunners. And when they see me playing the game that I play the way I play, the way it should be played, a bit more chaotic, a little bit more random, but within structure of what counters what, think on your feet, real-time strategy. They look at me like I'm the troll, and I'm like, I'm not a troll. You guys are the speedrunners. You guys are, I'm playing the game, and I happen to go through all the maps and play against all the bosses. You know what I mean? And learn, and so that's just the way it is. And so you're not going to stop the speedrunners from being speedrunners. It's just not going to happen. So this is good. These changes are good. Cheers. Menkshaw says, which is why I love watching you, Flo. You are creative and not just doing the same build order. I'm trying to understand the game in the most natural, real life strategy, real-time strategy that I can. I'm trying to play think on your feet StarCraft. But I need a lot of understanding of the game to kind of be able to be better on my think on my feet StarCraft. And I think that that's just the funnest way to play StarCraft, because that's where you are an artist, at the moment artist, and it makes for a fun ladder, because a lot of people that face me, it's stressful game, but it's a different game. When they play me, it's something different. Whether you like it or not, it's different. And different is good, because you get in this loop of redundancy, and so then you play something weird and you're like, that was interesting, so yeah, I appreciate it. That's what I strive for, though. Real-time strategy. Okay, let's see. Let me put some more StarCraft. Viewers sound like, let's go. The speedrunner analogy is really good. It really it's we don't call it that in StarCraft. And I thought about that once, and I was like, I kept getting hammered by these repetitive players, and I'm like, well, they're not changing their way. They're trying to do the fastest thing. What are they trying to achieve? The high rank. So then there's a goal to get to the certain rank as fast as possible. Except this game is really hard, so you can't. There's a bunch of speedrunners, but it's not easy to speedrun up there. So there's a lot of people trying, but they're doing it so redundantly that it is what it is. And there's nothing wrong with it, but it's good to call it the way what it is, so that it's a little more understandable that we do have speedrunners. And do you want to be a speedrunner, or do you want to play StarCraft real-time strategy? Which way do you want to play? People get convinced to be speedrunners without even knowing, because we don't call people speedrunners that play standard meta and just try to go to the top doing it. So that's why I always, remind myself to call it what it is. And there's nothing wrong with it. Just like in other games, nothing's wrong with speedrunners in other games. But it's a lifestyle, and it's up to you if you want that lifestyle or if you want to, approach it more organically. But yeah, you do get ridiculed more if you play it organically. You will get outcast. I think unless you're playing for serious money, you need to have fun. Doing the same thing over and over isn't fun. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think at some point it's not about of course we all want to get to the highest ranks and stuff, right? But at what cost? At the cost of you enjoying the game, one of the best games out there, and even the best game in RTS history. You're gonna sacrifice enjoying everything that it has to offer you to get to the highest ranking that you want to by just playing one particular linear direction? I was like, you're hurting yourself more than you think, because you don't stop and smell the roses, and the roses are beautiful. One day you're gonna think back, man, I spent 10 years doing the same meta build. How much time what could I have done with that? How many different builds could I have done with that? How many PF rushes and all this other stuff, right? Because at the end, what are you gonna get at the end? You're never gonna be satisfied when you go up the ranks. You're never gonna be satisfied, I guarantee you. You can keep going up. You're always gonna want to go higher, and it's always gonna hurt that you can't, or that it struggles, and you're just gonna be hurting yourself more and more and more. So, yeah, it's torture. It's better to find something that you believe in, and it shouldn't be just a certain number, because it's always gonna move. The goalpost is gonna be moved. You're gonna move it. So let's go. Let's keep going. Do you think the warp gate nerf is a nerf? No, I used to play StarCraft 1. So StarCraft 1, we didn't really have warp gate, so we played it normal. So it's kind of like you're gonna be playing like a Terran player for the first intro, which is good, because what people do is they end up waiting for warp gate before they make units. Sometimes like they'll get their gateways, then they'll make their units after warp gate. This kind of play will allow warp gate for whatever. I haven't even seen the gateway part, but if you're playing warp gate play, it's a little faster than your warp gate play, which means that if you're waiting for warp gate, you might get punished from a player that's not waiting for warp gate, which means a 2-gate play is going to be dangerous. A 2-gate adept without warp gate, something like that, because if you're waiting for warp gate, you're gonna hesitate on some units. So we'll see what happens. I don't really know yet. We're gonna see what they changed on the warp gates. I don't think it's too much of a difference, right? Because I don't really see too much of a difference. I don't even make warp gate, I still don't see much of a difference, you know. So I don't know if it's gonna be a big change. We'll see. See, we're at Warp Gate right now. Or Toss still has Chrono Boost. Do you think the new patch helps Toss early game and makes it harder for the Terran to catch up? I'll find out right now. We're talking about Protoss just now. I ranked a few players today with the adepts. Yeah, they're dangerous. They're dangerous. You gotta be on top of it. 2 gate without Warp Gate adept. So Warp Gate research moved to Gateway from the Cybernetics core. What? What does that mean? The Warp Gate research moved to the Gateway? So the Gateway is gonna have like a Warp Gate research? What does that mean? From the Cybernetics core? So the Gateway has its own Warp Gate upgrade? So you can quickly go make some gateways without the Cyb and turn them into Warp Gates? Oh, but it's going to be individually. And you have to upgrade each one individually? Kind of like a tech lab? So it's kind of like a tech lab. Just without a tech lab. You're upgrading a tech lab. Yeah, you don't see a tech lab pop out, but you're clicking it. Technically, it's doing whatever it's doing, but it's just not a tech lab. But I got you. So they're making it like a barracks, without the tech lab visuals, of course. I see. That's interesting. But then how does it... I guess that's... well, I don't know. We'll see what happens. So... it's just going to be a different way of warp gating. I don't really see them not warp gating anyways. Just going to be slower on the warp gate. But if they're all getting the same warp gate, then they're going to... You know what it's going to do? I think it's going to cost more for the Protoss. So the Protoss has to spend more money to make the warp gate on each gateway, which means that it's going to slow the game down a little bit more for the Protoss from just building a lot of gateways, getting a warp gate right off the start. So it's supposed to mess with the minerals, and I think it's because of the 8 workers. You got to remember, all this is... we have less workers in the start of the game, and they're kind of like trying to come up with they're trying. I don't know who's doing these changes. These are some these aren't just changes that these are interesting. Just some people are on the loop. Has to be some people on the loops. There can't be these many changes in these directions without somebody that knows how to play StarCraft, that understands what they're doing, because this is definitely some bold moves. Bold moves. We'll see how it goes, though. It's interesting. Cast more to warp. It's gonna cost more to warp. Yeah, you're gonna have to invest more. It's like making more tech labs from barracks instead of just Marines. Now you gotta make a lot of tech labs. That's gonna cost you. Instead of just one simple cost of, I don't know, was it 50 minerals? 3 gates will produce as much as a 4 gate. Are they speeding up things? It says warp gate research speed up gateway units produced in time by 35%. Okay, so they're gonna have, so the cooldown for the warp gate is gonna be 35% faster than the gateways. I forgot what it was before. Well, I guess it's gonna be 35% faster than even where it was before. So what they're doing here is they're saying, hey, we know it's gonna cost you more money to make all these tech labs on these gateways to turn them into warp gate. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you a benefit. if you do invest in that, then we're going to make sure that you get faster gateway cycles. That means if you make zealots right now, you're going to get 35 seconds faster, 35% faster than a gateway. You'll be ready to make another warp in faster than they can pop out theirs. So and that has to do with you being on top of your cycles. That has to be with you knowing that you have another cycle in a couple seconds, and you go over there and you warp in again. You get me? It doesn't help you if you get the warp ins, but then you always forget 10-15 seconds later to warp in again. You know what I mean? And you got a lot of minerals. You're like, shit. But when you get better at that, then it'll start really mattering. But so there's a cost to the warp gate. They're putting it out, but there's going to be a benefit of a faster production for workers. Which, if you're playing against a gateway player, right? If you're playing against a gateway player versus a warp gate, which is kind of interesting because this does tie into a Protoss versus Protoss, and you can definitely see a gateway player now up against a warp gate player, but they lost some of their warp gate abilities in regards to like timings, so now they have to play in the sandbox of a non-warp gate player, which is not too many people that do that anyways, but it's gonna be interesting how that plays out, how much of effect that does on people warping in or not warping in, and how many people are gonna get what units at what time if they don't get the warp ins. There's gonna be something there. We'll see how that goes. This is actually a tricky change of gateway. It is, Shadow. It's a bold move, I think, but it's an interesting bold move because it does leave different directions for the game to go. It's interesting. I don't get warp gates, so it's interesting more to me because it's like, okay, well, that gives me more of a chance to play these players where they're more in my battle, more in my zone. They're in my playground. They're in my playground trying to jump over the fence back to their comfort zone. is what it feels like. It feels like the kids are like, shit, what? We don't want to be here. The no warp gate area. Let's jump over the fence. And it's slowing them down. They have to get to the fence, jump over it. Then finally they can get comfortable back to the norm. And for me, it just gives me more time while they're just trying to jump over the fence. Like, hey, whatever. You don't want to play here? I macro better with that warp kit. Yeah, and lower level players will definitely do the same because they won't have to worry about the cycles, warping in at the right cycles. They'll just be able to flood the gateways a bit and micro their heart out, and then the armies will pop out little by little. And I think that'll definitely, be interesting for the players that don't have high mechanics and the players that are slowed down to the high mechanic because of the bump on the road for warp gate. And that's just PvP. I haven't even thought about TVP and ZVP. That's going to be an interesting one for players that like gateway play. It's going to slow down the game, but then you also got the 8 workers versus 12 or something like that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let's see. Warp-in time no longer determined by a slow power field. Okay, so that means that wherever you warp in, you're gonna get a fast warp in. You're not gonna get this like 2-year warp in because you got outside the nexus or a gateway field, which is annoying because sometimes you feel like you have it. What do you mean that pylon's right next to the nexus? Somehow it's not. No, but you're sharing the older pylon warp in. That one's slow. It's like, oh, what the hell kind of math is this? And so that, yeah, at least that'll be long gone because that's annoying. I just beat this other player once, and yeah, he did the warp in at the wrong place, and I was like, oh, this poor soul right there is like, they ain't coming out for another 2 years. And they're over there just seeing the whole base die, and then they pop out at the end, and then they die. It's like, plus they're vulnerable. They're more vulnerable in damage when they're warping in, so that's even, it sucks more. So that's gonna be interesting. Warp time decreased to 3 seconds. Yeah, so they're gonna make it even faster of a warp in when they actually warp in. So when they pop out, it's gonna a little quicker than even normal, which is gonna have warp gates a little bit more beneficial for like warp gate cheese. When you're trying to warp in a bunch of units right away so that you could get quick damage, it's gonna have some room for aggression. Not the biggest, but it's gonna, every little second counts in StarCraft. Warp gate cooldown values, sellouts 2022. What's all this? Adept. What's all this? Stalker. They all have different values. 32. So that means the Templars, they're gonna take even longer to warp in. Once you warp in some, you're not gonna be able to make like a bunch of Archons, like say mid game, 23 minutes in, 30 minutes in, got a bunch of gas, got a lot of minerals, we just traded units, I'm just gonna warp in a bunch of warp Templars, turn them into Archons, let me get another, boom, more Archons. So they're gonna slow that down, because now you're gonna wait even longer for the next Templar wave, and that's gonna affect certain situations. It's gonna affect you even wanting to wait for another warp in sometimes and get another Stalker or Zealot warp in, because it's just not enough time. So that's gonna be interesting. They're giving different time values of cooldown. Don't even need gates or prisons outside to warp fast. Yep, don't need a gateway. You're outside the base, you can hide a pylon in their base better without having to worry about it's going to take forever if they scout me to warp. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. It's going to definitely keep you from having to spend too much resources if you don't want to. The gateway, warp gates, pre-warp production time values 27:30. Yeah, I figured it was going to be more. Wait. 27:30, 27, 28, 28, 28. So they're kind of keeping it somewhat all similar. Not too much of a change. You don't even feel it much. Century from 23 to 24. Oh, they're giving you, well, not much of a change. From 32 to 40. 32 to 40. Yeah, not that much of a, yeah. It's kind of, so 5 seconds more not having a warp gate than a warp gate for the Templars, which is kind of a lot in some moments, but at a certain point you're gonna have enough money to get them warp gates. Trust me, you're gonna have enough time to get those bad boys warp gated. You're not gonna have that much weird, unless the game was weird from the start. But they're not, yeah, I don't see too much of a problem there. Okay, post. Yeah. So we'll have to see on that stuff. It's hard to feel it. Unless you're at a high level play with a tight build, you don't really feel those too much. Hallucinations automatically inherit the current order queue of the casting sentry. So does that mean that that's the only direction that they can go after? They can't do any other. No. That means that same thing with the okay, just like the overseers, they can automatically have a selected path, and they could just make the warp. It's gonna help them scout faster without like having to do the movements all the time. Interesting. Yeah, like Overseer's Gateway of Death, production time from 30 to 28. Yeah. Disruptors, Phantom Attacks, sounds pretty cool. Oh, we're gonna get there right now. I don't even know any of these from here on, but it looks like we're almost done with it. They only changed the ghost, right? For the Terran? Okay. High Templars, Sandstorm total damage reduced from 110 to 100. Damn, they keep... These High Templars are getting more ass every patch. But it's a different... You know, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, but... I don't know. It's already weak. I mean, the Marines can just run right through them and just right into your face. You're like, oh shit, they didn't stop. They'll tank those. These days, you could tank the storms and just keep pushing through. They used to be dangerous. You see storms, don't touch it. Now you're like, okay, well, it's just gonna be a little warm. Just get in there. You get a sunburn. That's about it. Okay, Disruptors now has a Phantom Attack weapon. What is a Phantom Attack weapon? Did they like elaborate? Did I say that right? Does anybody know what the Phantom Attack weapon is? I can only assume it's like a fake one of them. They can hallucinate a fake disruptor. It makes it strobe, so it makes it roll like a hallucination, like a fake one, right? Yeah, it's like a hallucination, Earthwalker. So you can, so they don't know who to kill. So you could look like two when you're off with just one. We'll have to see later. I'm gonna take a little break in a little after this, and then like in an hour or so, we'll play some ladder. We'll try these PTR games, and we'll test this out. Fake Nova. We'll test out the patches and, you know, have a little fun. And then these are all... War Prisms can now issue load nearby unit commands. Oh, okay, kind of like the Overlords. Same thing, you can do, just pick them up. These are all little fixes. Issues with mothership would warp in, adjust to a nexus rather than over top. And a lot of fixes. They're really fixing a lot of stuff. Some of these are probably like co-op as well. Or I don't know. There's that many fixes. Previously uncommandable during their swoop animations. Dang. Maybe I just don't notice a lot of these bugs, but at least they're patching those. So that's gonna be interesting. We'll see how it goes. I'll jump in about, you know, an hour or so. Just gonna get a little break, and then we'll see how it goes. We'll see visual fixes, but some are interesting. Oh, you read those fixes, the bugs? Yeah, I didn't want to go. That's too many to go through here, but I'm sure there's gonna be some that I probably didn't notice. Like, what? I think stasis might be easier to set up. They didn't give you anything but the oracles. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. Should be fun. We'll play some tonight. All right. Yeah, keep it. I'll keep it hot. When we come back, I'll make sure it's got a refill. All right. Well, I'll see you guys soon. And you know, if you guys, like I said, if you guys want to get in there, you got to go into the StarCraft main screen. You go over here and you click on public test realm. You click on that, update it, and you get inside. And then when you want to go back out, you go back here and you go back to live StarCraft 2. You go backwards. Okay, so this is where it's at. If you want to just get in there and have some fun with what I was just talking about. Hey, no problem, King Kai. I'll catch you guys up soon. Lates.